Hi TYT, hi YouTube, hi everybody. It's Josh.0 here with another fantastic video for TYT Sports covering WWE and professional wrestling in general. Before we get into today's subject, I have to give a huge thank you to everybody who watched our WrestleMania 32 coverage video. As of today, we have almost 60,000 views. Now look, I know we live in the world of YouTube celebrities. These are people who have 1 million views on videos of them playing video games or putting on makeup and stuff like that, and that's how they make their money. I'm not a professional YouTuber. I don't do this for a living, but I'm fortunate enough to do these videos for TYT Sports, and it's all thanks to their opportunity and to you guys for watching. If you didn't watch, we wouldn't be doing them. So thank you all so much. That's really awesome. And thank you for participating in the comment section. As you've seen, I respond to every comment, and we also get great ideas for future videos. So what do you want to see? What ideas do you want us to tackle? And today's video is exactly a result of that. The subject for today was brought up, will Hulk Hogan ever return to the WWE? We put out a Twitter poll about it, and before we get to the answer to that question, we're going to go over a few people who have also been blacklisted by the WWE, some of whom came back and some of whom didn't. So let's dive right into it. First one is the Ultimate Warrior. The Ultimate Warrior, one of the other biggest names in professional wrestling, alongside guys like Hulk Hogan and Roddy Piper, all in that same generation, the golden age. Everybody loved the Ultimate Warrior. He was just so fantastic, and he had a very famous falling out with Vince McMahon in the WWE. They saw things a lot differently. To be fair, Ultimate Warrior went kind of crazy. He went super religious and just railed against everything related to the WWE, and there was seemingly no way that those bridges were going to be amended. But at WrestleMania 30, he was inducted into the Hall of Fame just before WrestleMania 30. I was fortunate enough to be there, and then to see him live the next night on the Raw post-WrestleMania. He came out, and it was fantastic. The crowd went crazy, and then he died the next day. So I wonder if that was a little bit of closure. But this is the man who WWE put out a specific DVD all about assassinating his character, the self-destruction of the Ultimate Warrior. That video was nothing but a hit piece on him. So it's funny to see them go from that to inducting the man into the Hall of Fame. And you know, it shows that, hey, time can heal all wounds, and it sure enough did for the Ultimate Warrior. Number 4 is Macho Man Randy Savage. This one is interesting because, again, another guy who was eventually inducted into the Hall of Fame, but he's the subject of one of the most interesting urban legends in professional wrestling. The story goes that back in 1993, Macho Man started a relationship with then 17-year-old Stephanie McMahon. Vince found out about it, was naturally livid, and that's why Macho Man abruptly left the WWE in 1994. He's one of the biggest names to come out of the Golden Age, along with Ultimate Warrior and Hulk Hogan. So why he would up and leave the company, nobody knew, and they kept this story under wraps. Again, this alleged story under wraps. And then he went to WCW. So whether or not the story is true, whether or not that actually happened, I don't think anyone has ever come out and said definitively yes or no. But a rumor is not a rumor that doesn't die. Number 3, this one's a heartbreaker, but it's true. Chris Benoit. Chris Benoit is one of the most talented, technical professional wrestlers in the history of professional wrestling. WWE, Ring of Honor, WCW, TNA, you name it. Chris Benoit is one of the greatest. And it's unfortunate that because of the incident in 2007 where he killed his wife, his son, and then himself, Chris Benoit will more than likely never be in the WWE Hall of Fame. In fact, his name is never even mentioned anymore. They were saying, it's been said that these crimes were the result of CTE-related injuries. He took too many chair shots to the back of the head and unfortunately lashed out in a very violent and unfortunate way. But because of the violence and the crime itself was so horrific, there's just no way the WWE can ever associate themselves with him. And that's unfortunate that his legacy is forever tarnished because of that. Number 2 is not as serious as Benoit's, but still a tarnished legacy, and that's China. China was... before divas were divas, she was sort of the anti-diva. Here's this woman who is strong and absolutely authoritarian and just dominates other women and men in the ring. And she had the respect of D-Generation X and all of these other big-name guys. And another interesting urban legend goes that China had a real-life relationship with Triple H. That's very common knowledge. But then the story goes that Stephanie McMahon and Triple H started a relationship on the side. And China was called into Vince's office, and Stephanie said, all right, you guys are over. Me and Triple H are a thing. You guys are no longer a thing, so accept it and move on. And China was obviously very upset, but Vince sided with his daughter, and her contract wasn't renewed, and she left the company. And then she went on to do some adult film. She went on to do some films of an adult nature. So that certainly is not going to help her get back into the good graces of the WWE, that and constantly trashing them and things like that. So it's unlikely we'll see her ever back in the Hall of Fame. But you know what? Let's just move on. Let's stop talking about that. Okay, number one. This is an interesting one because it's a tie. I wanted to bring in two names, one that you might know because we haven't mentioned him yet, and the other one you might not know. So let's start with the one you may be familiar with, the man who was involved in the most famous kayfabe breaking real life meets fake storyline incident of all time. And that, of course, is Bret Hart. We're talking about the Montreal Screwjob. Very famous real life spat between him and Vince McMahon. He spits on Vince McMahon when he's standing in the ring. Everybody sees it happen. And then what you might not have seen is that when he goes to the back, he finds Vince in his office and assaults him, punches him square in the face. He says he broke his hand when he did it. And it just, he was obviously very upset. So he assaults Vince, and that was supposedly the end of that story. He leaves, goes to WCW, and no one thought that they would amend themselves, but he did, and he's eventually inducted into the Hall of Fame. Now, since then, Bret Hart has said he doesn't want anything to do with the WWE until his brother Owen Hart is inducted in. And it is still a crime every year that goes by that Owen Hart is not inducted into the Hall of Fame. I have no idea why the WWE is waiting so long. Owen Hart is one of the most respected and loved wrestlers of all time. And another tragic death through no fault of his own. He deserves to be in there. I really hope he's in next year. Now, here's the name you may not be familiar with. Was a guy named Nails. In the early 90s, Kevin Schultz was brought in as this character named Nails. He was supposed to be a convict who was abused by the big boss man, so he was coming to seek revenge. And he actually had a lot of success. He fought the big boss man, he was going to have this big beef with The Undertaker, but what happened is, Schultz started realizing, hey, wait a minute, I'm actually really popular. Fans really like me, I deserve more money. So he barrels into Vince's office and demands more money. Vince says no, and Schultz proceeds to beat him up. And that never goes well when you demand more money from your boss and then you assault him when he says no. So, of course, Schultz is immediately fired, and the WCW picked him up and made him into this convict person known as the Prisoner. So a good sort of slap to the face to WWE as the Monday Night Wars started to pick up. So Kevin Schultz, again, probably many of you may not even know who he is, and that's exactly why. That's the way the WWE wants it. Now, let's address the question. Will Hulk Hogan ever come back to the WWE? Twitter poll we put out, 60% of you said yes. 60% of you said no. 40% of you said yes. We also had some interesting comments from people and their reaction to it. Peter Jesse said, hey, WrestleMania is in Orlando next year. He won against Gawker, so he'll be at WrestleMania 33. And that's a good point. It is in his hometown, but is it too soon for the WWE to make amends with him? I don't know. I guess we'll find out. Matt said, nope, no way. He made enough off of the case to not have to risk permanent injury anymore. And that's another good point. Whether or not he's going to see all of that $140 million that he got in the Gawker case, because I'm sure there'll be appeals and stuff like that, who knows? But even if he only sees half of it, he certainly made enough to not have to put himself back in the ring again. M. Mills said, hey, desperate times plus no shame equals the return of the Hulk and his retro fringed tank top. Now, I guess, will we ever hear the theme to Real American in the WWE ever again? My take? Yes. And here's why. Because, as we've already said, time heals all wounds. And what Hulk Hogan did, while it was abhorrent, it was a racial tirade that was the result of a private conversation, but he came out, he tried to do this very boilerplate mea culpa, but other wrestlers, black and white, came out and said, hey, you know, it is what it is. He's never said anything bad to me, so we're fine with it. And after 10 years or so, I don't think people are going to care anymore. I really just don't think it's going to matter that he said something like that. Many people won't even remember what he said. You know, even in the internet age, people have very short memories. And so I think that by 2025, Hulk Hogan will be back in the WWE, maybe even sooner than that. But I certainly think that 9 or 10 years is more than enough time for people to have moved on from that. So that's all I've got for you today. Thank you all so much, as always, to TYT Sports. Thanks for watching. Before I go, I just have one thing. This is on a personal note. This has nothing to do with TYT Sports. This is strictly me. This is just Josh talking to you. I have started a petition on change.org. If you want to know more, if you want a copy of the petition, if you want to sign it, just hit me up on Twitter and I will send you a copy. As of now, we have over 500 signatures, and what we're trying to do is get the WWE to stop performing in any state that passes LGBT discrimination laws. Indiana's done it, Mississippi's done it, North Carolina famously has done it, and what we are trying to tell the WWE is that you have a lot of power over young people and even adults. You need to say something about this. WWE has an opportunity to say this is wrong. This is discrimination, and we want to put a stop to it. So they've got a chance to do it. Over 100 companies, the NFL, the NCAA, Bruce Springsteen, a lot of big-time celebrities have gotten behind this and said, hey, we are not going to perform or do business in North Carolina if these kind of laws keep going on. Georgia was going to pass one, and Hollywood said, hey, if you do this, Marvel won't film there anymore. The Walking Dead won't film there anymore. We'll just take them all out. And Georgia said, okay, you got it. And they vetoed the bill. So good for them. But if you want to know more, hit me up on Twitter. Thank you all so much. If you want to participate, I really appreciate it. So thanks again. Keep the comments coming. As you know, I respond to every comment in this video as much as I can. I think we saw in the WrestleMania video, even over 60,000, almost 60,000 views. We've done it. So thank you all so much. We can't do these without you. Hope to see you in the comment section. All right. Bye-bye.